Fix your dopamine and fix your fat loss. Dopamine is one of those buzzwords that's been going around for the last few years, and we're all somewhat aware of this term. We're all somewhat aware of the effect that it has, but I don't think we realise truly the knock-on consequence that this is having when it comes to achieving certain goals. And we're going to use this in the example of fat loss. And the reason why dopamine is so influential when it comes to fat loss itself is because dopamine is the neurochemical which will be released in the brain when it comes to working out what is pleasurable. You know, what is the reward I'll get from this activity? And the higher the dopaminergic release that you get from an activity, the more your brain is going to be addicted to it. It's like that, this feels good. You know, when you do something that's highly dopaminergic, it usually feels really good to do. That's why things like alcohol, highly dopaminergic, scrolling on your phone, highly dopaminergic, junk food, highly dopaminergic. And what will happen when you consume foods in which are highly, or not even food, just anything, you consume content, music, anything that's highly dopaminergic inducing, your dopamine baseline will increase, right? And different activities will have a different level of increase depending on how your body naturally responds to them, right? As an example, I believe cocaine, the old Peruvian marching powder, increases your dopamine by about 9 times above baseline. Something like junk food is around 3 to 4 times higher than baseline. And obviously these are highly dopaminergic activities, right? So we do these things, we go, wow, that was incredible, I feel good, dopamine spikes. The only problem with your dopamine spiking is that it is a very, very long way down back to your dopaminergic baseline. And we're going to unpack why this is such an issue when it comes to fat loss. Because when you do these highly dopaminergic activities, you scroll on your phone, you engage in porn, you do these things in which you feel good in the moment, but they're not quite good and conducive to where you want to get to. They are usually sky high above our dopaminergic baseline, which is where your body will eventually have to come back down to. But unfortunately, the higher the high, the lower the low. And whenever you tend to go from a very high place of dopamine, going back to your baseline can seem very boring because you've been at this high spot for a very, very long time. And that's why sometimes doing the simple things feels boring. Eating the salad as opposed to the sugar and the KFC and the Raising Cane's, very good by the way. It can seem very boring. And that's not because the activity is boring, it's just because your pleasure balance in your body on a neurochemical level has adapted. Therefore, this is now your new base level of I feel good. And then when you come back down to baseline, it feels way below that. So why is this an issue when it comes to fat loss? Well, that's quite easy to explain. And this doesn't require too much neuroscience, but essentially there's 2 forms of ways in which we can receive gratification. And whenever I refer to the word gratification, I simply kind of mean that dopaminergic response. You've got instant gratification and delayed gratification. Now, those instantly gratifying activities will have that effect of woof on your dopamine levels, but then that also means that you're going to get this huge crash. Now, something which is delayed doesn't necessarily raise your dopamine too much in the moment, but in the long run, it keeps it more balanced. And let's go back to the idea of fat loss, or this does relate to fat loss, but this also relates to any goal in which you're looking to achieve, right? Normally, anything worth having requires fairly boring actions over a long, consistent period of time, right? If it was just a case of we do tasks which are instantly gratifying and we get to where we want to get to, well, those things would no longer have their value because we usually want the things in life which are hard to get. Otherwise, they are not desirable. It's the fact that they're hard to achieve that makes it desirable. The reason why people want six-pack, they want to be lean, they want to have that dream body, is because only 0.1, if that, percent of the population have those physiques. That's what makes it desirable. You think about a Hermes bag, how many people walk around with a Hermes handbag? Not many. And for that reason, it is then desirable. Why does the price of a commodity go up? Why does gold go up? Because there's a finite amount of it, and the more in which somebody pays for it, the more valuable it then becomes. So the reason why this has such a large effect when it comes to achieving fat loss is because all of the activities involved in achieving that dream body require delayed gratification. They always sit on this side of the fence. And even if we just outline instant gratification versus delayed, if we go on delayed, that's going to the gym. Going to the gym sucks a little bit in the moment. It doesn't feel good. It might feel painful. You have to push yourself outside your comfort zone. But then afterwards you feel good, right? Delayed gratification. On the other hand, you could say lounging around, being lazy, doom scrolling, right? This feels good in the moment, but in the long run makes us feel shit. Because with instant gratification, we get that very immediate, quick dopaminergic spike, which then leads to that very quick dopaminergic crash, which then always leads to you chasing that high dopamine state all over again. But with delayed, again, you're just slowly going up, but the fact that you're gradually going up means that you don't get as much of a crash. And I'm just gonna go back to a few more examples of delayed gratification. Eating healthy, no processed food, doing some cardio, moving, getting your sleep in order, sleeping correctly. All of these things don't necessarily feel as good as what some of these things could feel like. Let's look at instant gratification. Staying up late feels fucking damn good, doesn't it? You're up late, you're binging telly. It feels good, life feels good. That could be telly, that could be food, binging, whatever it is. These things feel so fucking good in the moment, don't they? Like they feel good, right? But in the long run, and not even in the long run, the day afterwards, you feel shit. A good night's worth of sleep doesn't feel glamorous in the moment. You don't quite feel great, but then when you wake up feeling refreshed and you've got energy that sustains you throughout the day, and that compounded over a long period of time leads to an upregulation of health, an upregulation of hormonal health, your metabolism increases, you lose fat, you build muscle, that feels pretty fucking damn good. So the reason why dopamine makes this incredibly hard for us to do these delayed gratification tasks is because these delayed gratification tasks are normally at your baseline level of dopamine. And to you, you're used to sitting at this highly engaging, highly dopaminergic state all the time. So then anything that you do that is not along the high state of dopamine that you're already in seems fucking boring. What seems more fun? Eating junk food or going back to a healthy diet? Well, it's a no-brainer. What feels more fun? Getting up early and getting out of bed, or laying in bed and doom scrolling and falling back to sleep? And the higher that you spend in this highly dopaminergic state, your baseline drops, your baseline drops, your baseline drops, your baseline drops. Because all of a sudden those harder things suddenly feel like the most boring things in the world, right? Because you've been so stimulated for a long period of time. And the way in which this world is designed now is to make you overstimulated 24/7. You literally wake up and you have your phone, right? If you want shit food, you can have it within a moment. If you get a lustful thought, you can go onto the internet and watch porn. The world is designed right now for instant gratification. Therefore, when it comes to things that delay that, it is incredibly hard because the world is actively fighting against you right now. It's actually harder to have a healthy meal than it is a shit meal. You can drive around to your local McDonald's, it probably takes you 25 minutes to get there, eat it, and get home. But making a home-cooked meal that's a single food, whole food ingredient meal, that takes a lot longer. You have to go to the shops, you have to buy the ingredients, you have to then cook it. You're talking at least over an hour, possibly close to an hour and a half, and it doesn't taste as good. But afterwards, in the long run, you feel good about it. And it's this battle between doing the thing that's good for you right now versus the thing that's good for you down the line. And this is why dopamine comes into it. Because if you're constantly doing these tasks in which give you that instant gratification, that high level of dopamine, doing things that come back to baseline are incredibly boring. And they're almost like, why would I fucking do that? And that's not you, that's simply where your brain is on a neurochemical level. So the way in which we're gonna wanna fix this is by doing something called a dopamine detox. We're going to slowly detox our levels of dopamine so we can drop our levels from up here all the way back down to our baseline. And then all of a sudden, those tasks that once seemed boring are the most fun things ever. The most incredible thing in which I watch, I've got a dog, right? I've got a puppy. I watch her have the most amount of fun ever with a stick. Now, if me and you were to look at a stick, we'd go, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this stick? And then we'll pick up our phone and scroll, right? But I watch my dog. She's doing it right now, playing with a stick, and it makes her so fulfilled, right? Because her dopamine levels are down here. How excited does your pet get to eat? And it's a shit boring bit of food. But that's because their dopamine levels are so low. So any activity which spikes dopamine for them is so high. But for you and I, they're the opposite. Our dopamine levels are so high regularly that doing things which actually do bring us long-term gratification seem impossible. So how are we going to bring these levels back down? Well, what we're going to do is, this sounds very drastic, but we're going to start removing all the things which make us feel shit. So we're going to stop doom scrolling. You are going to stop having junk food. No junk food. This is one in which people don't want to do. Silence. How many of you always have to be listening to something? You get in the shower, you've got a podcast on, you're listening to music when you're driving, all the time, you've got your headphones in when you walk. All the time you're being stimulated, but how often do you sit there in silence? How often do you sit there just with your thoughts and do nothing? Like, when was the last time you did nothing, or are you constantly running away from nothing because you don't want to be sat by yourself? And when you learn to do nothing and you learn to stop consuming all the time, all of a sudden those simple things become interesting again. I guarantee if you sat there for 1 hour and did nothing, all of a sudden you'd be like, I really want to clean. You'd be like, I really want to fucking clean my living space. Whereas when you're scrolling on your phone, the last thing that you want to do is clean, because it feels like the most boring fucking thing in existence. And when we stop doing these highly dopaminergic tasks, drugs come into this as well. I'd like to think not many of you are on drugs, but that would obviously include alcohol, which I'm sure a lot of people do get themselves induced by. But if we can slowly remove these highly dopaminergic things through a detox, those boring things are going to seem simple again. And if I was to do this in any particular way, I mean, for a start, I'd live my life in a low dopaminergic state anyway. I actually take myself, the way in which I do this is I take my Thursdays off technology. So I don't look at a phone, I don't look at a laptop, and I just kind of exist. And that's beautiful for me. And I get to Friday and I feel like I've had a nice reset. And then all of a sudden the things that were once boring feel incredible to me. But you can do this over a long period of time. And I think that what we've got to start doing and this isn't even part of this, but just as humans as a whole, is start regulating those dopaminergic levels. Because the more in which you can lower that dopaminergic baseline, the easier it is to do the things that are hard for you. And then it feels easy because they feel, and this is the funny part about this, it feels enjoyable. You start finding fulfillment in those things again. Do you remember when you were a kid and, you know, a stupid fucking doll or this wrestling figure, it used to give you the most amount of fulfillment in the world. And fast forward 10 years into your life, 20 years into your life, you've got a phone that bores you despite the fact that you can access anything in the world. You can view anything in the world at the touch of a finger, but you're still less satisfied than when you were when you had that doll, or you had that stupid train set, or whatever it is that you had. That brought you so much more fulfillment. And that's because your dopamine levels over time have got higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And now we need to bring them back down to a baseline where you enjoy the simple things again. And when you can start to enjoy those simple things again, that's when life becomes easier to do those hard things, because they're not the most enjoyable to you right now. So we need to cut these things out. And if I was you, I would do a very, very harsh 7-day detox. 7 to 14 days, I believe, is the sweet spot to lower dopaminergic levels. And what I would do moving forward is permanently regulate those. Permanently look in your life and go, right, why am I how can I stop being overstimulated? And it's not only that, and it's not even from the dopaminergic standpoint, but just to give your nervous system a break. We're so highly stressed all the time, but we can get things in the easiest way possible. When was the last time you went and just sat in the sun, or went for a walk without headphones, or sat with yourself for 5 minutes and did nothing? We live in the most overexposed, highly stimulated time in history, and that's why you can't get anything done or get closer to where you want to get to, because your dopamine levels are so high. So start regulating your dopamine levels. All of a sudden the hard things feel easy. When the hard things feel easy and you find pleasure in those things, guess what? Life's fantastic again, because those things that you once thought were boring are all of a sudden the most fun parts of your day. You're like, I'm looking forward to cooking myself this nice dinner. In the past, you're thinking, I don't want to do that, but now it brings you so much more fulfillment because you've decreased where your dopaminergic baseline sits, And those boring things feel fucking fun again. They feel easy. And even those highly dopamine inducing states, they suddenly become less appealing to you. You want less junk food. You don't want to do these things because you find so much gratification in those simple things. But in the meantime, you just have to force yourself to not do it. Delete the apps on your phone. Get rid of all the junk food in the house. Say no to alcohol. Say no to all of these things. And I guarantee within 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you suddenly start to feel like a child again. And when you get to that childlike state, life becomes enjoyable. And if you do that, fat loss will be easy. You won't have to be battling yourself all the time.